UFC Fight Night, Whittaker versus RDR. The UFC heads to Abu Dhabi this weekend. So if you're in the States, we got early fights. I cannot complain. First time back in a couple of weeks here. Missed a couple cards, but we're going to jump right back into it. Let's start out. We're talking about Martin Buday versus Marcus Buchecha. Buchecha is making his UFC debut here. Only 6 pro fights, but like 2-something odd competitive jiu-jitsu matches. The guy is a very decorated jiu-jitsu competitor. He only competed in MMA in one, which is obviously, one of the bigger organizations, despite some of its flaws. And he's absolutely massive. He's like 6'5", big body, definitely knows how to use his grappling, and his striking doesn't look too bad either. He's taking on Buday, who's had a very respectable 6-1 UFC record. And, he's a guy who he's kind of that build of heavyweight where he's not really sitting down on his punches. He's trying to win on the cards. He's throwing his jab out there. He's grappling a little bit if the opportunity presents itself. But definitely just a solid guy overall. We're seeing a bit of a resurgence in heavyweight jiu-jitsu, thanks to guys like Jailton Almeida and most recently Walter Walker, who's got 2 or 3 straight heel hooks. So honestly, it feels like some of these heavyweights are not ready for the grappling. And if Buchecha can get it to the ground or even just like dive at Martin Buday's legs, Buday might just be completely lost. So we're taking Buchecha to win this one by sub to set us off here in Abu Dhabi. Next up is Mohammad Yahya taking on Stephen Nguyen. And Yahya just got KO'd by Kawe Fernandez last August in the UAE. Both of his UFC fights have been in the UAE, and he's lost both. Despite his nickname being UAE Warrior, the guy is just not looking like he's a UFC caliber talent. He's taking on Stephen Nguyen here, who's probably the most manageable of his opponents up to this point. He lost his debut to Jarno Aarons and is one of the rare guys to have gotten 3 Dana White Contender Series fights. He went 2-1 in the Contender Series. Super tough dude, decent striking, definitely can take a punch, and he's got a lot of grit and a pretty good gas tank. Like, he just keeps moving forward, and I think he's just going to outdog Yahya here and find a KO. But don't be surprised if this one goes to the cards. You might as well just spot Yahya around right off the bat. He's in front of the home crowd. And, I don't know. Getting pre-robbery vibes from this one. Go figure. Next up, we have Aslan taking on Billy Elekana. And Aslan is coming off of a stinker versus Jan Kutalaba. Got pretty much diffed the entire fight. Looked terrible on the feet. Got taken down super easily and submitted. Dude just looked lost in the grappling. And that is an opportunity for Billy Elekana to take advantage of here. He's a guy who made his debut versus Bogdan Guskov on short notice. You definitely could tell it was short notice. He was pretty gassed, but had some decent moments in the first round. He got on Guskov's back, was attacking submissions, and it looked like at a point there, he was threatening a rear naked at one point. So that's going to be his ticket here. But in the second round in that fight, he basically crumbled. And yeah, you can blame it on the lack of a training camp, but also, man, I feel like you're a young guy like Billy Elekana. You're really supposed to always kind of be in shape. Maybe the guy just doesn't really have a good gas tank. I expect Aslan to maybe give up some ground in the grappling exchanges. Round 1, maybe Elekana takes advantage. But round 2, I think Evo's going to come out swinging and find the KO. Next up is Amanda Ribas taking on Tabatha Ricci in the strawweight division. Top 10 matchup here. Ribas has had a pretty respectable career. Some big wins. Beat Mackenzie Dern back in the day in a main event, and then just lost. Actually, I don't know if that first fight was a main event, but she did just lose the rematch to Mackenzie Dern earlier this year. Got submitted by armbar late into the 3rd round. Despite that, Ribas is pretty good everywhere. Decent takedown defense and then decent takedowns. She really likes to attack like these hip throws. She landed a few on Mackenzie in the first fight. But I think that could spell trouble for her in this matchup if she does try going for that, because that's kind of Ricci's world. She's got the judo background. So I think if Ribas tries going for one of those hip tosses, I think Ricci's going to end up on top and sort of dominate like any sort of clinch grappling that's going on between these two. Ricci's got some decent striking too, good gas tank, has a lot of output, which lends itself to winning decisions. We're taking Ricci to win this one by decision over Amanda Ribas. Next up is Davey Grant taking on Damone Blackshear. This was a hard one for me to pick, I'm not going to lie. Both guys have had a pretty good amount of momentum going into this fight. Grant's won 3 of his last 4, and that one loss was to Daniel Marcos, who was undefeated at the time, and I definitely felt like Davey Grant had a serious argument to be made for winning that fight. The guy's super awkward, been in the game forever, has a lot of UFC fights under his belt. I think he was on The Ultimate Fighter back in the day, but kind of a bizarre style. You don't really know what he's going to do. Likes to throw a lot of like teep kicks and spinning back fists and stuff. Hard guy to deal with. And he's taking on Damone Blackshear, who's got 3 wins in a row, including 2 submissions. And then most recently, pretty much just dominated Almabayev. I definitely think Grant can give Blackshear a lot of troubles, and he's going to be a tough guy to take down. But I think between Blackshear's low kicks, which he just throws a lot of really nice low kicks, and sort of the takedown threat, he should win this one on the cards. I think he'll win a round with, just leaning on the leg kicks. He's got, I think, better boxing than Davey Grant. Like, he throws stuff kind of down the middle, so he's going to be landing there. And Davey Grant kind of bloodies up pretty easily, which I think just the optics are going to be hard for him. So I think it's going to be a close decision, but Blackshear is going to win it. We're going to take Blackshear by split decision, calling my shot there. Next is a welterweight matchup between Muslim Salikhov and Carlos Leal. Leal came over from the PFL and like the LFA last year, and he looks legit. I picked him over Fakhretdinov because I watched his PFL fights. I said, this guy's got serious striking, and he definitely got robbed in that fight. Still salty about it. But then he faced Alex Morono back in March and absolutely mauled him. Looked a lot better on the feet. You could tell that there was like a stark power difference too. The guy's pretty jacked, and I like his game a lot. Works the body well, mixes up his strikes. And he's taking on Salikhov, who's pushing 40 now, if he's not already older than 40. And don't get me wrong, the guy's aged really well in the division. He's coming off a KO win over Son Kanan. He's probably the best spinning wheel kick fighter maybe ever in the UFC. I mean, I don't know who else you would throw up in that list. Like Edson Barboza's, probably number 1, but I think you can definitely throw Muslim Salikhov in that list. He's got 2 KOs from it, which is pretty unheard of. And he's effective with it. So Leal is going to be hip to it for sure. And I think Leal is just going to close the distance and just piece Salikhov off close. We're taking Leal to win by KO here. Next up is a light heavyweight matchup between Nikita Krylov and Bogdan Guskov. Krylov just got KO'd by Reyes in his last fight, not too long ago, it feels like. Definitely not his best performance. He was sloppy the whole fight. Reyes just kind of waited for his shot, and as soon as Krylov tried like bum rushing him, he just got hit with a counter left hand and put out. We did pick Reyes in that fight. I was loving it. But Krylov, I don't think he's going to make that same mistake versus Bogdan Guskov. And Guskov's a totally different fighter than Reyes. Reyes was willing to kind of wait for that shot. Guskov is just going to march forward. That's what he does. He's going to throw from his hip. He's going to not really protect his head, and I think he's going to leave himself open for a head kick from Nikita Krylov. I like Guskov's game a lot. I think I've picked him to win pretty much every fight he's been in, besides for his first fight versus Ozdemir. I think I picked him in every other fight besides that, though. So I like his game. I like his aggressiveness, but Krylov is the kind of guy where I think he's going to get his foot up there and get a highlight reel knockout. I didn't love the vibes from Guskov. He looked bad on the scales, and didn't like sort of the energy he was giving in the face-offs either. We're taking Krylov to win this one by head kick KO. Next up is a flyweight matchup. between two of the more interesting guys in the division, we got Almabayev taking on Jose Ochoa. A couple of young guns, Ochoa being really young. He's only 24 years old, and he's definitely trying to follow that Josh Van path of just crazy activity. He fought back in June, got a KO over Cody Durden, and said, put me in the next card. Here we are in July, and he's back. He's definitely one of the best flyweight prospects in the sport. Got crazy hand speed and really good power. I like his striking a lot. He pretty much had Durden dominated. You could just tell off the rip that there's a crazy speed difference. We did take Ochoa by KO in that one. So a lot of these guys are guys who I have picked successfully in the past, which means I'm probably going to whiff on all these picks. He's taking on Aslan Almabayev, which is a big step up for him. I mean, Almabayev, I think, is a lot better than Durden, especially right now. And he's got 3 times as many pro fights as Ochoa, so there's going to be a big experience difference. He's 4-1 in the UFC with his only loss to Manel Kape, who, obviously Manel, super experienced, been around everywhere, and is a really dangerous striker. And the difference in that fight, kind of like in Ochoa versus Durden, really was the speed. Kape was just so much quicker, ended up getting the KO, and I think we're going to see something similar here. I think Ochoa is just going to be too quick for Almabayev. Almabayev, I think if he wants to win, is going to need to mix the wrestling in and test that for Ochoa, at least get the takedown on his mind. But I think regardless, Ochoa is just going to look a lot better on the feet, land the harder shots, and I think he wins this one by a decision. Next up is... who's next here? We got Shara Bullet taking on Marc-Andre Barriault. And Shara got schooled by MVP in his last fight. It was bound to happen. I really never believed the hype in Shara. That Armen Petrosyan knockout, as crazy as it was, and definitely I was like, okay, this guy's got something. I just don't think you can rely on spinning back fists and like question mark kicks to win you fights. And Shara Bullet, the reality is the guy just has not much boxing at all. This is a much better matchup for him. The speed difference of MVP was just too much for Shara to handle. He had no way to close the distance because he just doesn't have a jab. He tries to like leg kick his way in, and that's just not going to work. But versus a guy like Barriault, who's plods forward, much slower, bit of a statue, I think those leg kicks are going to be there all day. Barriault is coming off of a KO in Canada, I believe, over Bruno Silva. But I think this is the ideal matchup for Shara, a guy who's going to be a lot slower, who's really not going to be able to avoid the kicks of Shara Magomedov. I think he gets a leg kick KO here. He's just going to beat up those legs of Barriault. Next, we have our co-main event. It is a bantamweight matchup between Petr Yan and Marcus McGhee. Really cool matchup here, and it feels like Yan is fighting for a title shot. He's right in the mix, and he wants to get one back on Merab, obviously, but he's taking a risk fighting back in the rankings versus Marcus McGhee, who's actually older than Petr Yan, but does not have nearly as many fights. But yeah, Petr Yan's really rolling the dice here. I think he must feel confident, and for good reason. He's a 4-1 favorite, and the guy's just so skilled as a striker. And really the only guys to ever beat him were pretty much the 2 best grapplers in bantamweight history, between Aljo and Merab. And outside of that, we've never really seen Petr Yan get beat on the feet. The guy's just too slick. Once he gets into that flow state, he's pretty much unstoppable on the feet. We saw it in the Figgy fight, which was really exciting, and we saw Petr just once he gets to use all of his weapons, and he's not worried about just getting his legs dove at by Merab. The guy is pretty unbelievable. McGhee is definitely gonna pose a threat here. He's got really, you're gonna hear the broadcast team talk about his muscles for the entire first 3 minutes of the fight. That's just the reality. The guy's unbelievably strong, got a lot of power as well to back it up, and he's a skilled striker. we did see, like, this is definitely going to be his best competition up to this point. And the best guy he's faced so far, Jonathan Martinez, had his way with him with the leg kicks. He really struggled with that. Obviously, that's Martinez's strong suit. But that's going to be something Petr Yan's going to key in on. If he thinks he can get those leg kicks off, he's going to start doing that, and that's just going to unlock the rest of his game, I think. So I expect to see a slow start from Yan here. Probably going to be a close first round. He's going to get his reads. But 2 and 3, I think he just distances himself on the feet and shows why he's the best striker in the bantamweight division. We're taking Petr Yan by decision. Finally, we have our main event. It is Robert Whittaker taking on Reinier de Ridder. And Whittaker is a slight favorite here. Last time he was in Abu Dhabi, Khamzat ripped his face apart. That was back in October. But before that, he showed up and got a massive KO. So he definitely is going to come into this fight with a similar strategy that he did have versus... this is a terrible look. Hold up. Versus Salikhov. Yikes. Worst look for Salikhov, though, that I was forgetting his name. Because do better. But, okay. Getting back to Robert Whittaker. We did pick Whittaker in that fight versus Khamzat. I thought he'd be able to fight off the takedowns. He's got good grappling defense historically. And just start picking him apart. All he had to do was kind of get past that first round and a half where Khamzat's just super explosive, and he couldn't quite do it. RDR, on the other hand, is a super strong grappler, but he comes in with a completely different grappling style from Khamzat. He's not nearly as explosive as Khamzat, so he's not just going to like just shoot at your legs from 5 feet out. He's going to try and close the distance and use trips or getting close and then grab a single. And I think he's going to be able to get this fight to the ground, which obviously he's going to be looking to do. At the face-offs, he looks so much bigger. Whittaker's usually the smaller guy. I mean, he started out as a welterweight, but this is one of the bigger size differences we've seen. Obviously, RDR versus Bo. There was a huge size discrepancy in that one, and you definitely saw it in some of the grappling exchanges, and then just kind of the clinch work. Like, RDR is just able to get his knees up and just dig into the body, and I think those are going to be available to him in this fight as well. So we're going to take RDR to win this one by submission. I think he's going to be able to work his way in close, get those knees going, and then eventually take Whittaker to the ground and get a submission. We'll call it in the second round. So that is the pick, and that is the breakdown, and we'll get back into the swing of things here. Obviously, we got 319 coming up, which I will be in attendance to, so a lot to look forward to. Summer UFC is in full swing. Let's get it. See you on the next one.